share is not participating. Oh.
Hey guys, welcome to Seller Sessions Daily, live on Facebook and across other channels. Today I've got Athena Severi, Augustas is with us, we've got Meghla, Prabhat is about to join us, and we're waiting on Christian as well. So basically, guys, today what we're going to talk about is the future of networking and events. We're all event organizers of some shape or form, and what I'd like to do is I'm going to go around the room and everyone can introduce themselves, which is fine, and then the next step from there, we're going to talk about how the impact it's had on our events and what is going to happen for future events coming up this year and some of our predictions, because we know that networking plays a massive role in what we're doing. There's behavioral changes. We're seeing people doing more like online events, but there's certain events that are more special when they've got the live feel to it. So starting with Meghla, do you want to give an introduction of what you do and who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Meghla Bhardwaj, and I've been working in the sourcing industry for almost 20 years. I've been organizing a conference for e-commerce and Amazon sellers in Hong Kong called Global Sources Summit since 2016. And I've also worked with Global Sources exhibitions. And more recently, I've been organizing a sourcing trip to India called India Sourcing Trip.
Excellent. Up next, Augustas.
Hello, everyone. I am Augustas from Orange Click. I used to do virtual summits in the past. Then I transformed myself into in-person events. And one of the last in-person event was European Seller Conference 2 weeks ago, which was crashed by COVID.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens this year.
Cool. Athena?
Hi, everyone. So I've been sort of creating some sort of events or community since I could think and speak. So it was just a natural progression. I have a trip to China called China Magic that's been around almost 4 years. I also do events around the world with our seller events, and I host events for our mastermind called Titan. And I'm here in Clearwater with my kids and my husband, and we are very excited to even just see each other, because the extrovert in me doesn't love being away from people as long as we have. So there you go.
Exactly. Prabhat hasn't got camera on. I think he's dialing in. Prabhat. Oh, there he is. You look like you're fishing, mate. You all right? You all right?
Hey, I want to switch with you. Where are you?
I'm loving the hat. The hat looks great. Can you give a little bit of background on who you are and what you do?
Yeah. I'm Prabhat, and I run AmaFest UK, which is Amazon Focus Conference, which is normally held in Manchester. We've done 2 last year, and there was going to be 1 this year, but due to normal issues we were having, so with the coronavirus, we had to postpone it in October. So
well, that's fine. We're going to get into that at the moment. As we covered everyone, yes? So everyone on the call has done a quick introduction. So can we bring it back to the beginning of the year? Let's go around the room in order of sequence of the effects of the coronavirus has had on our events. So let's start with you, Athena. Obviously, you had the trip to China.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that unfolded. We know that you maneuvered your event to October because it's twice yearly, isn't it? It's October and April. Give me a rundown of the events, what happened there, the kind of effects, etc. you had, and as it was all unfolding in China.
Sure. So I remember first reading about the coronavirus, and it was quite shocking to hear and quite terrible. And so what I decided to do a bit earlier on than most is I decided that it would make more sense to put all of our energy towards October, even if there was a chance for April to continue. So I kind of changed it a bit earlier than a lot of other people did with some of their trips, because I wanted to really focus everyone's attention. We actually have a sourcing team. So what we did is we opened up our sourcing team to our attendees, and we started doing a lot of virtual training. So I started shifting gears very early on to be able to take care of my guys and also prep them mentally for the fact that they were going to be switching over to a different date. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Meghla, you next.
Yeah, so for me, I had almost 4 events that were canceled. So there was, of course, India sourcing trip, which is, I was doing it for the 2nd time in April, and that had to be canceled. And then I had another 1-day event for Amazon sellers in India, and then, of course, Global Sources Summit. So Yeah, and then I was planning like 2 events here in Singapore. They were canceled too. So yeah, initially we thought this was only China focused, right? And then I thought my India trip would go ahead as planned. And in fact, people were concerned about China, and they were asking me that, hey, is your trip still going on? Can we come join your trip? And I reached out to Athena as well, and I said, hey, are people canceling in your trip? And do you want to like maybe do something so that we can help people and get them to sign up for India? And yeah, good we didn't go anywhere with that, because now it's everywhere, and we had to cancel India trip as well. But I think yeah, what I did too, I mean, similar to Athena, I realized that we have to provide more value to people. And I started doing online webinars and providing content to people online. So we're still continuing all of the pre-trip content, and in fact I've added more content to the trip as well. So even now we're having our weekly webinars with all of the attendees, and everyone's pretty happy. No one's asked for a refund. Everyone's moving to October. If they're not moving to October, then they're probably going to join us in April next year. Global Sources Summit, they took a bit longer to decide that they wanted to cancel, but eventually they had to. And then we're planning to do maybe a virtual event for Global Sources Summit in April. So yeah, that's where we are at now.
Excellent. And then up next, Prabhat, are you still there on the call? Sorry, I know that you're running low on the battery. He may have disappeared. Yeah, I think he's gone. So up next then, let's go to you, Augustus. I mean, you got it. I mean, your shit went down in real time, didn't it? I mean,
yeah, I was chopped by day, by hour.
By hour. So let's walk it back, right? You and I started having conversation a week before the event, right? We knew that maybe
2 weeks before. I think 2 weeks before I started to get some worries. People started to ask, are you canceling event or not? And I thought, why should I cancel? So there are still no problems to travel and everything else.
Yeah.
And then, 1 week before I already had some dropouts, maybe like 5 or 10 people, maybe one sponsor. North Americans stopped their trips. They said they are not coming. And then I was already in Prague, and like 3 days left or 2 days left, and I get this news from Czech Republic government that they are restricting events to 100 people, and I was expecting 200 plus.
Yeah.
So after this news came out, I was getting emails that like 30 people in one day, they are saying they are not coming. Next day, another 40 people said they are not coming. So at the end, we had around 100 people, maybe 120, but always we had in the room less than 100. I was checking. So we were complying with the rules on the first day. And of course, we were dropping out. We were missing the speakers. Some speakers came to Prague and they booked the flight on the first day of the conference just because they were scared that countries will be blocked and locked.
Yeah.
So at the end,
if we look at the roll call, so day before I flew out, you got the announcement. The government says no more than 100 people. So you were able to separate into 2 rooms, right? So you had a room where you had a live link up, and then you had the live room, and then it allowed people to shift around where necessary. So it makes it fair for all the delegates, right? That was day one. Talk to us about what happened on day one in terms of, I mean, I ended up doing 3 slots that day because some of the speakers had to fly home, didn't they? Because they're getting out the country, and you run it to 11 p.m. Explain what you did.
Yeah, so I think between like 2 and 3 p.m. I was getting messages from other people living in Prague and sending me screenshots of some kind of news that they are limiting events to 10 people. I got some other news that it to 30 people. So I was a bit freaked out what's happening. And it was not clear when this limit is in place. And then I talked to the venue during the break, and they found out that it's 30 people event from next morning. So I was so relieved because I came up with the idea to run all the second day presentations on the same day. So we extended, instead of having networking night, after 7 p.m., we just ran another 4 hours of presentations.
Yeah.
And we still missed some speakers. For each speaker, we prepared the speaker trophies, and I literally have in the house where I stay now like 9 trophies packed, which were not given away. I'm anyway sending them to all the speakers, but So on the second day, I had to think, what do we do? I was a bit lost. So we had 3 rooms where maximum 30 people could fit. And we did some masterminding. It was a little bit chaos, but it was more networking.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end, maybe experience was much more useful for sellers because they got all the presentations in one day, and the next day they could network and talk to each other much more than in regular conference.
And not just that, you put a nice little bar on that evening as well, so people let their hair down, didn't they? So that went till early hours. But yeah, then you had the round table and networking tables, which is good. People were in good spirits considering what was going on. Everyone was holding it down. They were helping each other with flights and stuff and getting across the border and getting out of Prague. But I think that for me was that was the first, my visualization of really the shit was going down. You know, I know when I got off the flight, I was saying to my wife, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, no, it's lovely over it. It's brilliant. Yeah. And things like McDonald's was closing. The shopping centre was closing. The hotel's closing. Flights are being changed, you know. Athena had a little bit of a struggle getting home.
Yeah.
She was very creative on getting home, weren't you, Athena?
Yeah. So I started hearing the news, and I'm such an event enthusiast that instead of going home on the first day, like I was being advised by my family, my friends, even strangers kept messaging me all these screenshots. And I'm like, you know what? I am staying. I am sticking it out. But it was quite risky because they changed the rules to where if you were a U.S. citizen and you'd been to any of these European countries, including the Czech Republic, you were not allowed to fly into your actual airport. So I'm not going to say how it happened, but I got home, and that was...
That's all they need to know. We're on a need-to-know basis, but you got back.
Basically, Mama Bear busted through some major barriers to get to her kids because I was like, no one's stopping me. I'm not going to be stuck in Europe as much as I love you guys. But yeah, no. Augustas, I just wanted to comment. You rocked that event. Like you stood up there. You were calm. You were cool. You were collected. Everyone felt so happy to be present. And I just wanted to take my hat off to you and say, well done, because you really did a great job.
Well, we've got some comments here. Like Jules Marissa says here, it was such a good event. Augustus loved it. Well done for the way that you handled it.
Yeah.
And Ijel has said, yeah, totally agree. Should get an Amazon event Emmy.
Yes.
For pulling this one off.
Thank you, Augustus. We're going to make you an Emmy. That'll be cool.
I'm sure it was the last Amazon seller event in the world.
At that point, it was
the last event in the world.
For now, you know.
Part as we were like walking through the event, it was all we had to order food at this like really creepy place like down the street because everything was shut down. Like the whole world was shutting down, but we were there and we were networking, and Augustus rocked.
What about the beer hack on Friday night? So they shut the bar, right? So the bar is downstairs. We're in the foyer, right? So the bar is shut. The only way you can get a drink is to order it from your room. So what you would do is you go to your room, you place the order. They'll make it at the bar. They'll take it to the room. You go to your room, you grab it, and you bring it back down. And you sit 2 yards from the bar, and that's what people did, didn't they? In the end, but no, it's just you make of what you can with it. So we all flew home. I went straight into lockdown with my wife and my daughter and everything else. And then why this is all happening? So we've got seller sessions that sold out 90 days in advance, right? So I'm in a different position to some other people because people were counting events. And what I was saying to people was like, no one had come to me at that point and said, what's happening? Can I get refunds or anything? I just didn't get any of that. I got on the Sunday, people asked a question. So it took me a little while to work out exactly what to do because I was in a dilemma. It's like, if no one is asked about refunds or whether you're changing the date and then you go and change everything, that's unfair to everyone with travel plans because you haven't consulted these people. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we then got to the stage where it was like, okay, now it's started to progress here in the UK. We could see the change. We're looking at these data sets and everything else. So we managed to move the event, but it's not just like with Augustus's event, it's in one place, right? So you go to the conference center and it's all there. Like we've got 2 workshops in 2 different places. We've got the VIP dinner, we've got the boat party, and we've got the venue itself. And I had to make sure that everything works. And we got all the speakers can speak on that day. All the service providers can come in. So it's a big, big thing to deal with to get it right. So we've made we made the changes. So we got a new date for July 25th. I'm bullish on that. So I'm really optimistic with things will progress and we'll go ahead on that date. We got 6 refunds. But we had a waiting list anyway, so that filled back up there. We just got a couple of slots open on the workshops. But on the whole, I was expecting worse than that. And one thing I need to explain to people as well is we put all our own cash up for these, right? Insurance doesn't cover it. So there is no insurance for the coronavirus. And this is where I think you see events before in the US, not in the Amazon community. There was another event that goes on yearly that cancelled their event and they didn't give any money back because it was strictly no refunds. They didn't replace it to be on a new date. They just kept the cash and said it's, which I thought was terrible, you know. So we've had to take big risks here to put these events on. So we've kind of we've set the scene here on what we've had to do. Athena, you've got high costs where you stay in a hotel. These trips are not cheap to put together either. Augustus, we've had conversation. Is like when you book into hotels and stuff and they do a per head, it can be a killer against the ticket price, especially if they're not willing to renegotiate. I got lucky where I moved all the event and everyone moved the deposits over, the hotels were shifted, like even down to the boat. We managed to move that and then get a new day. So there's a lot of moving parts to make happen in that. So with this in mind, we know it's all in full effect. Most countries in the world are on lockdown. What do you see now? What is the behavioural patterns that you can see for the next 6 months inside of the events that you plan to do? Starting with Athena.
Well, I'm lucky that my mastermind happens to be virtual, so we are used to having weekly meetings, and we actually have a new software that we brought, kind of adding more, because what I'm finding with people being locked in their homes is it's not just me, it's not just people who are used to having a lot of people around them, but they're feeling lonely, they need connection, and the other thing that they need is they need help. Things are constantly changing with Amazon, and I really appreciate what you've been doing every day, Danny, with keeping everyone up to date with like all these shifts and having all these great people on, because I think in this time we need a lot of that. So I think a lot of what my focus is going to be is to continue bringing a lot of value virtually. And we're even doing something that's so silly. I know this sounds terrible to some, but like my ladies, like they're stuck at home. They've got their kids jumping all over them. You know, they're trying to get work done. We're even just having a thing where we just have coffee and just connect. Like even if it's that silly, like it doesn't even have to be completely business, but I think it's important to keep that human factor in.
Yeah. I think with regards to Meghla, you mentioned about doing more, what's the word for it? Like more like online stuff, you know, like, more additional like webinars and stuff. Virtual. And Augustus is basically, you are the summits guy. That's how you cut your teeth, didn't you? Before you went into live events, crazily so, gone into live events, you went straight into doing the summits and you've done a stack of those, and then you've booked out a load of events for this year. Now, what did you do in order some sort of path correction for your current audience from the last event? For those speakers weren't able to show, what did you do there?
So because I also had no refund policy, and I had like about 100 attendees, and I still paid for the hotel for 200 people and 200 portions. So we did a lot of charity work in those 2 days as well.
Yeah.
And to compensate for the people who couldn't come to the event, I'm just like thinking I organize some deals with some softwares that they can get some extra discounts. I organized additional webinar with Tomer Rabinovich, very respected Amazon expert. And now in actually half an hour, I will have another webinar, which will last 3 hours.
Yeah.
And here I will present 5 more speakers who couldn't come to Prague, but now they will have a possibility to present. So it will be like a mini event, mini conference into YouTube live stream. I can put a link directly.
Yeah, put the link in. At the end of the day, right, what's happening now is that with the way I see it, with everyone is effectively on lockdown, I do this content every single day because it gives some stimulus. It gives something for people to do, just bringing on guests, latest updates and stuff like that. And it just, you know, because I can see that shift in behavior. Let's be honest, there's only so much you're going to do when you sit at home. Eventually you get bored. There's only so many workouts you can do. There's only so many once a day you can go and take the dog out. There's only so many, you know, Netflix things you can watch. And if you're on limited stuff, going online and finding what I believe is hopefully good content and not just me, but others doing it as well, people have something to look forward to and gives them inspiration to get on and apply that to their businesses. So I suppose go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying I totally agree with that. And in fact, what people are doing is trying to look for innovative ways to do these virtual summits. So like Athena mentioned, these Zoom calls. I did a similar virtual event where we had about 80 sellers join in. And then we did another wine o'clock Zoom call where we had all of the previous India sourcing trip attendees, and we were with our wine glasses and just kind of chilling out. The other thing that I'm thinking of doing is maybe a virtual trade show for Indian suppliers. Now, India is also under lockdown, but suppliers are still working at home. So I've contacted a couple of suppliers and asked them if they want to come over and do a webinar and showcase their products and just talk about their companies. So I think people are getting really innovative in terms of how they present these online virtual events.
Just one quick comment.
Yes.
We are so lucky to be in this age where we can all connect from all different parts of the world, and we can show up in something like this. Like, if you take a step back and think about this, maybe 10 years ago, we didn't have this possibility. So I think for something this terrible to be happening now, I think I'm very grateful for being able to run my business from home, but also it eliminates all the logistics. Like, we did a webinar the other day with several people that would have been very complicated to get them all in the same place at the same time, but because it's virtual, we're able to kind of bring all this brain power together. And I think that that's something that's really cool as well. And we should all be very appreciative that we have the internet and all this stuff. My internet went down very briefly.
And you almost died. Your life support machine got turned off.
I'm like, no, you can keep me locked down, but don't take away my internet. Yeah.
Paulina is on the line. Hello, Paulina. How you doing? Hope you've been well. Asking Meghla, how would you do a virtual trade show and how would that work?
Yeah, so I'm trying to just keep it very simple for now. It's just going to be live webinars in the India sourcing group and also on my page. And I'm just going to invite suppliers. I mean, they're going to be in their homes, right? They're not even in their factories or in their sample rooms. So if they do have products in their homes, they're going to show those products. If not, then they're just going to show some, catalogs or maybe images, share their screen and show images. But more importantly, they're going to be talking about their capabilities and what kinds of products they do and what is their experience, what markets they export to. So basically, it's just a way to get to know a supplier. And at this time, of course, you can't place any orders in India. However, it's a good time to vet suppliers and try to understand what exactly their focus is, so that once you're ready to place orders, then you can move fast.
Makes sense. So I want to kind of flip this around a bit. I'm doing all this live stuff at the moment and putting it out through the podcast, etc. And this, as a format, works great. I think the problem that you have, Athena, and the thing that you have as well, Meghla, is the type of thing that you do is a live experience. And the reason I do Seller Sessions Live isn't just about the content. It's about what goes on after at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, where the magic happens. Yeah. The networking, the exchange of ideas, the building of relationships and stuff. And for me, I really would try my best to avoid doing Seller Sessions Live online, because all you got is a small proportion of the experience. Does that make sense? So I'm hoping that we make sense of this over the next few months, and it will go ahead on the 25th of July. But I understand where these pattern shifts coming from, and our behaviors are changing and we are moving online. But let's just say we get a clear run, right? Let's just say in 2-3 months, depend on the country, depends how people behave by staying home, and depending on some of the innovations that happens, if there's any early days vaccines or this social distancing does reduce things, and we do get out of the house. Could you imagine what everyone's going to be like getting out of them 4 walls anyway? They'd be crazy trying to get out the door anyway.
So months.
It's almost like there'd be a big spring back, wouldn't it? It's like you've done this for so long, and suddenly it's like, right, I've got to get out, and I'm not coming home now. I've been in the house way too long. So there might be a good rebound effect that everyone's so desperate to get out of the house, so desperate to get back in human communication with people. It might actually make events thrive. Now, another thing I wanted to pick up on as well is a lot of people have shifted their events to September.
Right.
So we're going to get like this big thing, especially with Amazon sellers. Q4 is an important time. If there's a rebound effect and everyone's preparing, there's going to be a lot of events taking place in September. All of my speaking gigs, I've got 6 gigs from the last week of August to the first week of October in that period, and probably more. Everything's going to kind of get bunched up. So that's going to be really interesting on how that affects other businesses for the guys that are not sold their events out and they're only part way selling through their tickets. What kind of impact would you say that's going to have, Augustus?
So I really thought that everything will be finished by end of April, but now I think we will have to wait for June when we can start resuming event planning. And if you start signing up contracts in June, July, so probably you will run events in autumn. And I'm a little bit concerned when everybody will run events in autumn. So if I will plan a little bit big event, I will really, if in normal circumstances, I would think it's a 200 people event, I will think it's 130 with these circumstances. So I will always think it's a little bit like I will, forecast small amount of attendees for my events in autumn.
Yeah.
So I will be careful.
Cool. Owen says, shout out to Augustus. His early days summits were a massive resource for me when I was getting in my formative years and still is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else we got here? Do you think we'll be ready to do offline events in October? That I've seen or leave until next year now? I'm being bullish. I'm going to say we should be able to do events. I believe July is going to be a point in the UK. But I can only go on what I believe. That's what I believe in my heart. But we don't know. We don't control anything. Athena, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if this is continuing on 6 months from now, or even 4 months from now, that's going to be quite scary. I think that I'm not one to predict, but I'm just hoping that it all works out way before then. Yeah.
Yeah. Meghla?
Yeah, totally agree. In fact, looking at China now, they have almost, they've almost recovered. Like, there are no new local cases. Of course, there are a lot of imported cases now, but with 2 months of social distancing and quarantine, they've been able to recover quite fast. So yeah, I'm also very bullish. I mean, October definitely. July, maybe being too optimistic, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to see. Let's hope.
Yeah,
one of us is going to be right. Yeah.
I hope you're right, Danny.
Yeah. I'm just going to be optimistic. That's all I can think about at the moment. Is just being happy, optimistic, and see what the future holds. Okay, Augustus, you don't always look happy, but I know you're happy inside. What's going on with What's going on with your? I know you got to jump off the call shortly. You have a series of events lined up. Do you want to walk us around the events that you do? Because you do more events than most of us put together. Like, you hold up Europe in terms of the diversification of events. So what can you see happening? We've got the Seller Fest in the different territories. You've also got the PBC Congress. What can you see happening there?
So, of course, original plan was to have 6 or 8 events this year, but now I think the earliest event we will plan is PPC Congress in Amsterdam in August. So we will work on it, and in June probably we'll know if we can launch it or not. Yeah. And then in September, October, I think we will have some events, Seller Fest events. Seller Fest events is more for local communities, especially in the countries where they don't have Amazon seller events, or they don't even have Amazon. Yeah. So we would like to. I wanted to do a Seller Fest in Poland in June, but now I'm not sure if I will think about Poland. But on the list are these countries: Poland, Romania, Israel. Israel we are planning actually in the beginning of October.
Yes.
Also, maybe Lithuania. I don't know. Yeah. So
that was lovely when we done Lithuania. It was small, but a beautiful country, and it was a good vibe there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the European Seller Conference, I thought I will repeat it again in September, but I talked with several people, and I thought probably I shouldn't repeat. It's like once in a year event. So we will do a European Seller Conference in the mid of March next year again.
Yes, sounds good.
It'll be a much happier one, yeah?
Yeah.
So, Meghla, over to you. What can you see is going on with China? Especially, you still involved with the Sourcing Summit over in Hong Kong as well for October. You behind that? Yeah. So where can you see things going there? You moving the similar lineup from April to that event, or is it a fresh start? What's your plan?
So first of all, what we're doing is we're moving most speakers to October.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not available for some reason, then we're looking for others. But of course, we might have to change the topics a little bit depending on how things evolve over the next 6 months. But yeah, mostly it's mostly the same speakers that we're looking at for the summit.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of over there, like some predictions, like in the US, Athena, when do you think this virus thing will start to slow down and see improvements? So we're not going to hold you to it. Everyone has a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm not qualified for that whatsoever, but I'm just really hoping that I'd say by June, maybe, because it's not just if things get better, but it's also do people feel comfortable to be able to congregate. So that might be July. Like I'm hoping that, SellerCon, for example, is in July. I'm hoping that it's going to be okay. Because
there's been no announcement of that, is there? So I think they're seeing that as a safe period as well. So that's why they've not made any announcement or any movement yet, because it's in July.
Yeah, it's so difficult because things are so unpredictable, really. Like we saw what happened with China, which is fantastic, but until we start to really see some good news come out of Italy and some of these other places that are affected, it's very hard to see the pattern. The US is not being as diligent as some of the other countries are, and so it's just sort of like very difficult to predict, which for us as event organizers can be quite complicated. But I think everyone on this call is very optimistic, very positive, and we're just going to do our best to kind of move forward in a space and a time that's going to work for everyone.
Yeah. Augustas, what's your take on Lithuania, Israel and stuff? What's happening there? You've been keeping up with local news and the effects of the coronavirus there?
Not really. I think news are almost everywhere similar. Just the difference is how limited is life in each country. With my family, we now live in Spain, but there is a complete lockdown. You cannot go on the street almost. You will be fined almost. But we at the moment in Germany, so I can still move freely. And there are some limitations, but in Israel, the whole industry is collapsing. I understood. There is just some cargo flights, and a lot of businesses are having troubles. So with all these events, I don't know. My worry is that people will not have money. They also will not have time to travel to the events because they will be trying to recover the business. With events, it can be difficult.
Yeah. No, that's it. It's the unknown, isn't it? Sorry, Athena.
Oh, no, it's fine. So we actually, within Titan, we have a call, which I thought was quite funny. The way we titled it is called Everybody Panic, Winky Face. Like we mean the opposite. But what we're really looking at, we brought in a gentleman, his name's Steven Anderson. He's been in this industry since Amazon went from books to physical products. So he's seen a lot of dips. He's been through economic downturns. And one of the things that I think is so important is for all of us, because we're all doing these live calls and these virtual summits and trying to give people as much resources, is like if these guys are pivoting their business and they're being very diligent about keeping things afloat, I think that it's a beautiful time to be in the Amazon industry. And when things start to clear up, I actually am quite optimistic that these guys will be able to travel and they will be able to come to events, because I've been seeing people kind of taking their brands and kind of, not completely changing things, but just sort of pivoting with the current scenes. I have friends who are like, for example, in the yoga space or in spaces for home exercise, and they can't even keep their stock in place.
They're thriving,
They're thriving unbelievably, right? But then there's going to be some people who've got, like, let's say, very luxury, high-end products that are not really pertaining to the here and now, and they're struggling. So I think for all of us as leaders in this industry to provide as much value, as much connection, as much everything we can, then I think that people will be thriving and doing quite well by the time the doors open and we actually have events. We're going to all be so excited. Sorry, just one more little thing, Diddy. At the end of China Magic, we have this thing, and of course we have to be fully recovered and it has to be healthy. And I'm not saying anyone should do this anytime soon, but we have this thing I call Hug Festival. So when people start out in China Magic, they're all strangers. They've never met each other, right? but by the end of it, they're family. And so I tell everyone, I'm like, okay, everyone, if there's someone in this room that's touched you in some way or helped you in some way or connected with you, give them a hug. And it's just this whole big hug festival, which I love. And I just hope to see that soon because I'm really missing that human contact. And that's
I think, look, at the end of the day, we're gonna have to get back to human contact at some point. I'm the same. I want to get back out on the road, once and that's why I said the spring back, like there's people in the comments, and that's fair enough. They can say that, like it can be a bit doom and gloom because it's like, oh yeah, but does anyone want to go near each other because of vaccines and stuff? I'm going to click these up on the board because I don't want to just look like we're putting positive stuff up. Where is Roger's post where he says, I hate to be Mr. Gloom, but without a vaccine, I can't see people wanting to do anything. Fair comment, yeah. But I see the flip side is that people will be chomping at the fucking bit to get out the house, and then they're never going to want to fucking go back in there, right?
Yeah.
So the moment they get clearance, they are to a stage of being practical. I think people will be running for clubs and events and stuff. They want to get out the fucking house, don't they? But again, it has to come with safety. Yeah, safety first.
Of course, and I think that right now people are looking for each other and this togetherness to help kind of maneuver all these changes, you know what I mean? So I think that there's going to be even more camaraderie in this industry once we get through this as a whole community, as a big community.
Yeah,
I think we're in the right industry. I mean, e-commerce is really growing. It's expected to grow even more because people are now shopping online, and people who have never shopped online in the past, they're being forced to buy products online because they can't go out. So they're going to get into the habit, and I think more people are just going to be buying essential items online, and they're going to be thinking like, hey, why didn't I think of this before? I can just buy this stuff online. So I think e-commerce is definitely one of the industries that's going to grow significantly after all of the dust settles.
Exactly, and I think that we have to be prepared for that. And like even a friend of mine was thinking of starting a travel brand, believe it or not, just because he believes that by the time he has it all perfectly set up, people are going to be just like excited to be traveling again. So, you just have to kind of roll with the punches and with the market.
Cool. Let's have a look. Let's have what we've got here. So Tiffany says, let's have a welcome back to humanity.
Yes, I love that. Why don't we all combine forces and make the biggest, baddest event that's ever happened in the whole entire universe, and we just call it Welcome to Humanity, and we just have margaritas for everyone.
Everyone gets let out the box. So basically, I need hugs during regular times. This home isolation is brutal. Even my kids are hugged out. That's coming from Jacob. And I've had a Jacob hug, don't you worry. Pauline, when it's all over, people will be extra hungry for live social events. Exactly, Danny. So, yeah, I'm just going to think positive on that side. The world isn't ended just yet. We're going to keep rocking till the wheels come off, right?
That's right.
Let's keep moving it forward. I'll finish up now. Is anyone want to send a parting words to people before we get off the call?
Sorry, Meghla.
Go ahead, Athena.
No, you. Go.
I was just saying that, virtual events are great. It's really cool. You can sit in your pajamas and, it's a global event. People from anywhere in the world can join in. But it doesn't beat a physical live event. It doesn't beat a handshake and a hug or anything like that, a drink in the bars. So definitely, totally agree with you. Virtual events are great, but live events will definitely, people will definitely want to go to live events after this.
Because it's about an experience. Like I was in the music industry, and it's all well and good watching a DJ in his bedroom through a webcam, but there's nothing quite like being on the dance floor at 2:00 in the morning or being at a live gig where they play that song. Do you know what I mean? It's those moments that get captured and which you can't capture online.
Exactly. And it's also less spontaneous. I mean, when you're at an event, a live event, you bump into somebody, somebody comes at your booth maybe, or you're just during the networking break, you meet somebody and you start talking to them. That really cannot happen online. That's also, right. You're not that invested. You have to be very, very motivated to really watch the entire 45-minute, presentation online. There's so many distractions. Whereas if you're at a conference or at a sourcing trip, you're there, you're physically there, you're mentally there, and you're absorbing more information for sure.
Cool. Any parting words from you, Augustas?
So I just wish that people will not get overwhelmed of all this information. Now it's a lot of powerful information is coming up virtually, and it's for free. Yeah. So I just wish that people will, yeah, you don't need to listen to everything, but there are a lot of good content coming up, like starting with Danny's daily webinars. But I saw a lot of other people in the industry. They are
And
just
I
going
encourage
online.
it, and this is what I'm promoting, is like if people have got good content, that they're not just flogging stuff and selling shit. I will say it, like if there's you're doing a free one after. If anyone's out there who's listening and you're not just trying to send someone down a funnel and you're giving away content, tell me and I'll announce it on these lives. And I push my audience to yours. I'm probably one of the only people in the industry that has an open platform. Right. I have a PPC agency, but I then do a PPC roundtable with all of these agencies, exposing all of those PPC people to my audience. Right. But I don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, what it comes down to, content is king and queen. And that's all I care about. So if anyone's out there, then fine, let me know. And I'm happy to promote your event, but it's got to be for the right reason.
Agreed.
Sure.
100%.
Cool. Athena, any past final stuff that you want to say?
Yeah, so I think one of the most beautiful things about events, and I actually do this on purpose, people may not see it, but as an example, my very first mastermind, I made everyone cook in this giant kitchen. They all had to cook a giant dinner together with wine and cheese, and they had to take out the trash together, and they had to do all these things together because I wanted them to mush together. None of them knew each other, but for me, the faster you can kind of take away that social veneer and you can actually connect people on a very human, very intimate level, then that's where the real sharing happens. Because when you're out in the corridor and you've actually got to know someone, I hear it all the time, like, hey, I wanted to give you this idea, and it's just so special. So I think that in this time, I think having as much connection and as much value that you can add to the community and to each other is going to be huge, because we don't have the luxury of being able to be on these trips together, or be able to, have a drink or whatever. We don't have that, but we do have each other, even if we're in different parts of the world. And I think that it's really important right now for us to be joining forces, being together, being one voice, and really helping people. Because you guys have seen Forrest Gump. You know how Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump go out into the ocean when everybody else was going to sea because there was a storm coming. And they were out there when everyone else was docked. And when the fish came in and the storm was over, they were the ones bringing in all the fish because they were first to market, right? So I feel like with Amazon, if we can keep our positive mindset, we can maintain our courage, we can really work together and help each other. And if somebody has a tip or something that's going to help someone else, give it to them. Like, we need to maintain ourselves as entrepreneurs as one big force. And I feel like we're stronger together. So I just want to express my appreciation to you, Danny, Meghla, Augustas. You guys are all just wonderful. You have huge hearts, and you're always providing so much value to this industry. So thank you for doing that. And I'm very optimistic. I think we're going to get out of this, and we're just going to, do great. And it's going to be hard. There's going to be difficulty, of course, but we're just going to do the best to kind of come out of it stronger, better, and more grateful for everything that we have in our lives. Like, even just going to a restaurant or shaking a hand, you never really thought, oh, this is such a luxury, but at this point it is. So once we're free and we're able to be together, I think we're going to enjoy that very much.
And you know what? Mic drop. I've got nothing to add to that. We're going to end the broadcast. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you, guys. I hope everyone that listened has enjoyed that. Keep positive. Stay at home. Look after your family. Back at 4:00 tomorrow. We're doing PPC Roundtable Part 2. Got Brian Johnson coming on. A huge array of guests again to help you with your Amazon business. Much love. Take care. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you, Danny.
Bye.
Guys, love you. Love.